What's the crack, nut sacks, and the heartiest of FNAF to you all? It's Finbarr Saunders here, and in the words of Stained, it's been a while, but we are back with another critically acclaimed and highly anticipated Anime Hour, the show that tells you not only what you should have watched a long time ago, but what you should be watching today. But fear not, we are here to take you gently by the hand and lead you calmly down a dark alley before brutally beating you over the head with some awesome anime. Metaphorically, of course. And joining me, as always, to my right, the co-conspirator in the aforementioned crime, the woman who will not only be driving the getaway car, but she'll also be providing my alibi since we've been here the whole time. Myself in comics is here. Bianca, what's up?
Hi, how's it going?
Not bad. Now, we've had something of a delay getting to this point, haven't we? Entirely my fault, of course, but we're here now. And I'm digging the new. I am digging the new avatar, and as you can see, I've also upgraded. So we are both.
So you got a tan.
Yeah, we're both looking fresh. You said this before, yeah. I got a tan. I'll have to dull that slightly. I think. Mm-hmm. It's that sweet Anime Hour cash rolling in, right? That we can upgrade. Wrong. We do this for the love of the anime, not for fame and fortune. Isn't it great? So, what's been happening in the world of Bianca lately? Are you doing good? Because I haven't seen you for a while, for about a month, I think.
Yeah, I've been doing fine.
Anything exciting been happening to you?
Starting a Twitch channel.
I'll need to check. You need to let me check that out. I don't know. Have you started it or are you starting?
I am starting.
Okay, let me know when it goes up because I have a Twitch account and I'll be straight over there. I'll give you my free Prime sub every month.
Oh man, I didn't even set that stuff up yet.
When you do, let me know. I'll be there.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Right, well, we need to dispense with the idle chit chat, Bianca, because we have over 2.5 hours worth of anime to get through tonight, and this is probably going to be the way we do it going forward because we're going to cram in as much anime as our brains can handle, which is thankfully about an hour's worth. Because one or two people have commented on how we've been shortchanging them by giving them only 45 minutes of a show called The Anime Hour. And I'm not naming any names, Janong, but we're going to be rectifying that from here on out because I've eased myself gently into the frog's seat and I've managed to replace his ass impression on the cushion with my own. So from now on, it's going to be balls to the wall anime. You ready to get into it, partner?
Yes.
Well, let's do it. So tonight, we're covering episodes 5, 6, and 7 of 3x3 Eyes, and this arc is collectively known as The Legend of the Divine Demon. So before we jump into it, since this really is one big continuous story, and I know we've rewatched it again fairly recently, or at least I did. I hope you did. Did you enjoy this arc as a whole, Bianca?
Yes.
Because I don't know how I feel about it, or how I felt about it on the first watch. I was a bit conflicted. So we've had some extra time between recordings, and I've just recently rewatched it. And I've got to say, I enjoyed it a bit more in the second watch. Have you only watched it once?
Mm-hmm.
I really did. Did you find yourself slightly confused by the ending?
Always.
But I suggest rewatching it. Have a rewatch because it is better on the rewatch. Because I was left puzzled by the ending first time around. But like we said,
just pull 1.5 times speed.
don't do that. Watch it if you can. Watch it slightly slower. I would suggest. Because we've mentioned a few times, both of us haven't seen it. We went into this blind, so we were going into this watch session at exactly the same point. So I have things that I really liked about it, and there's some things that really irked me, but we'll hit all of that as we go. So let's get into it. Episode 5 is called Descent, and we catch back up with Yakumo, and he's with a couple of monks, and they're performing some kind of ritual in a temple, and it's probably back in Tibet at this point, but the location, to the best of my knowledge, is never mentioned. I don't know if you caught the location where this thing was happening. Guessing not.
Nope.
Well, during this, we see a vision of Benares, and he's telling the creatures that live in darkness to capture Sanjian alive and bring her to him. And then Benares is shown outside in the flesh. He's somewhere outside the temple, and it looks like he causes the temple to start to collapse. So Yakumo and the two monks have to make their escape. And also, we're not sure at this point how long has passed since the end of the previous episode, but it looks like Yakumo has become a bit more accomplished at this point, or at least a bit more of the finished article as a woo. It looks like he's been in some kind of training. Seems a bit slicker. And then a bit later on, once they've escaped, we cut back to what looks like Japan, And Yakumo is now hanging around the streets dressed as a bum, reading what looks like pornography. And then we're reintroduced to Pai, who is now going by the name of Pabo, and she's attending high school in Tokyo. So a couple of her friends that she's with are taking the piss out of her because she's appeared in said dirty magazine that Yakumo has in his hands. And this is the point here when it was sort of obvious that there had been some kind of significant time jump between the end of episode 4 and now, since it's clear that Pai has now built an entirely new life. I just wish they'd sort of made it a bit clearer how long has passed. I know we get the idea that it's been 4 years later on, but it'd have been good to just have been told that. You know what I mean? So the girls are all complaining about how they want to have nice boyfriends, and then Pai senses sort of in the distance someone's watching her. And then Yakumo notices Pai from across the street, and he runs over and he grabs a hold of her. Thankfully, he's not quite groping her this time, but there is unfortunately a groping scene coming up later. And he notices at this point that her third eye has been sealed up somehow. She's got like a set of like 3 diamonds over, like a diamond seal over where her third eye used to be. So she runs off.
But they call it a scar, and it's so weird. And I'm like, how is that a scar? I mean, tattoo would make sense.
Well, she calls it a scar. I think the idea is that when the accident happened, she just had them on her head when yeah, it was. They could have just said they were just like surgical staples to seal up the wound. But yeah.
No, everybody calls it a scar, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's not a scar.
And then part of the scar disappears. So yeah. So she runs off into an alley, and then where Yakumo grabs her hand, and then 2 of the 3 diamonds shaped seals pop off of her forehead. And then she seems to go through some sort of awakening at this point. And then out of nowhere, what can only be described as a giant sperm monster with teeth appears, and it lifts Pai into midair while Yakumo's pinned to the wall by a demonic possessed sentient car. And we get a glimpse in the background of some chick. Yeah.
Just kidding.
We get a glimpse in the shadows of some chick who's probably responsible for it, but we don't get a clear look at who it is. But that scene sort of ends abruptly, and then Pai is in a dream where she's dreaming about Benares killing all of Pai's demon pets, including the big sperm monster. He kills this, and then the big sperm monster births like a baby sperm monster, which explains the now adult one that she's got and that she had in the alley before. And we get, during this dream / flashback, we get a look at Kaiyan Wang in his full Kaiyan Wang gear. And Pai promises to fight him, even if it takes 1,000 years, so we know she's not having any of his bullshit. Pai wakes, and then this scene, we don't go back to the alley, the scene then cuts to Pai waking up at home, where we find that she's been living with her grandparents. And they tell everybody the story about how 4 years ago, Pai's parents were killed in a car accident in Hong Kong, and Pai was the only survivor. And then they say that's how she lost her memory and got the scar on her forehead from the accident. So yeah, it's a bit silly that the scars.
What makes no sense.
Not a lot of this makes sense, Bianca, let's be honest.
Yes, because of the car accident, you got 3 diamond-shaped scars on your forehead, and they're like perfectly symmetrical too.
I think it was a bus crash. I don't know.
It was a type of vehicle.
It was a type of vehicle, yeah. So Pai is wondering about how she remembers Yakumo being pinned to the wall by this car, and she's wondering how he managed to survive. And this is how she gets the idea that he knows something about her and her past. So everybody ends up staying the night with Pai and the old couple. And then we find out a bit later on that the old couple appear to be possessed. The doll makers, I think that's what they were. I think Yakumo mentioned that they made dolls.
That they were possessed?
I don't know. I don't know whether they were possessed the whole time or whether just recently, but it must be the whole time because
like at first I thought they were, puppets. But then the ending came out and then I'm like, oh, okay.
No, they were real people. I think they were just like random people that got pulled off the street to be grandparents to this girl who's been found. So Pai and Yakumo have a chat on the balcony about what Yakumo knows about Pai's past, and he tells her that the sperm demon, the thing with the teeth, is called Fei-O, and he didn't kill it because he knows it belongs to her and it will act as her servant. So Pai, not believing any of this, and demands to know the truth about who she is, but then before he can answer, a bunch of possessed dolls start to attack the house. And during this demon doll fight, Yakumo displays some awesome kung fu shit to show he's been training for the last 4 years. I know
Kung fu sucks.
No, I know we spoke before about the fight sequences, right? And you weren't all that impressed, were you, Bianca?
It's like it started out good, and then you started really looking at it, and I'm like, oh, there's like some missed points over here. Like some of it's not legitimately touching.
But we get, I think that might be because later on, but I'll bring it up when we get to it later on in episode 7. There's another fight sequence, and I think I kind of understand what they've done, and I know why some of them aren't legitimately touching. I think I know why anyway. We'll get to that when we get to it. Remind me. So we then get this is the point where we get our obligatory groping scene after. So after groping Pai for probably about the 5th time, I think, the Yakumo and Pai are attacked, but this time they're attacked by the boss doll, the head demon doll, if you will, and it looks like this is the same one that was showing up in the alley to possess the car that pinned Yakumo to the wall near the beginning. So they have a fight for a bit, with the demon going all Terminator on them. She ends up gaining like a spike in her arm, in place of where her arm was at one point. I can't remember how she got her arm torn off. I think maybe he broke it off. But the possessed grandparents then show up and they start chasing after Pai. Yakumo shows off some of his summoning skills that he's learned over the past few years, but he ends up once again getting impaled by the demon doll anyway, killed for, I don't know what we're up to now, 10 deaths. So Pai summons the sperm monster, and it carries her and Yakumo off into the air, and the demon dolls try to chase them, but they're blown up by a grenade that Yakumo's been carrying. So while he's bleeding out on top of the sperm monster, he tells Pai that she's a Sanjian, and he gives her a sort of one-handed palm glove, and it's called the Nail of Shiva, so she can use this glove to unseal the divine power of the Sanjian. He gives
and kill Tony.
Kill Tony, yeah. She gives some kind of chant that she needs to use when she's using it. So the pair end up landing on a rooftop where Yakumo tells Pai he's going to go back to Tibet, where a monk will teach him the technique to break the spell on Pai, and then he'll come back and return her memory to her. But the two are attacked again by the demon dolls, who are now possessing Pai's two friends, the ones that were making fun of her before about being in pornography. And the sperm monster ends up getting possessed by the demon dolls, and the Terminator doll chick chases after Pai and Yakumo. And then after getting a little bit fucked up again by both, Yakumo is saved when she uses the Nail of Shiva for the first time to kill the demon doll and apparently level the entire neighborhood in the process. I think this show really seems to like blowing up entire neighborhoods. This is like the 3rd time this has happened. So
of course.
Pai takes the wounded Yakumo and her unconscious friends back to safety on the back of the giant sperm monster, and she remembers her vow to stop Cayenne Wang. So the episode ends with Yakumo about to depart for Tibet when Pai shows up, and she demands that he take her with him. So the pair end up setting off to Tibet together, and that's episode 5. And that's all there was to it. And I thought, like, this one is a bit more self-contained, as opposed to episode 6 and 7, which are a clear 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
We watched episodes 1 to 4, and they were all 25 minutes, there or thereabouts, right?
Yeah.
This was 45, and this felt like this could have been 25.
Yes.
Did you feel like that? Yeah.
Yes.
And I kind of felt that as well for episode 6 and 7. I think these could have all been 25-minute episodes. I think these were given the Eric July treatment, if you like, to reach back. I think these have been padded out somewhat, which kind of pissed me off because it's a bit of a waste of time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So after 5, bearing in mind this is the first time I've watched this one, after 5 I was thinking, oh man, I don't like where this is going, because I knew we were losing out on a lot of story that we thought we were going to get from the previous 4 episodes, if you know what I mean. You could just tell there was going to be no resolution to the Mrs. Wong story, the woman with the Zelda ears. Mm-hmm. You could tell at this point there's no Ling Ling, there's no Steve Long and his sister. It just felt like Yeah, this is and I'll come to that again later as well. Ling Ling could have easily have been dropped into this series that we're watching. She could have replaced the Jake character.
Yes.
It wouldn't have mattered. And I think we talked about this before as well. This feels like these three feel like they've been taken from a different part or a different volume in the manga than where the other ones were. It feels like they're very far apart from each other. And I had a quick look after we talked about this before. And there is no Legend of the Divine Demon in the manga, so this has been adapted from somewhere in there, but it's not got the same name, and I can't find it, and I don't know where it is. I'll maybe get you to research this, because you're the comics girl, yeah. Is that do you feel this? You feel like this feels like it's lifted from somewhere else? It's not in the same area. It's not like a direct continuation of what we watched.
Yes and no.
I know that I get that she's disappeared for 4 years, and there's not really going to be any story in the time that she's been disappeared to the point where she gets found again by Yakumo. But I just think I think it's been adapted from parts of future mangas rather than an exact story. Remember I said to you I'd looked into like the first volume, and the first volume followed the first episode in the manga. The anime very close. I don't think this does. I think this has probably been adapted, and it's like a new sort of fresh story. So I don't know. I was feeling conflicted at that point. Don't know how you felt about episode 5. I don't know whether after you watched it, were you looking forward to going through 6 and 7?
It wasn't that bad, really. I enjoyed the new characters.
I don't know. I don't know if I did. I think the new characters all annoyed me, to be quite honest. We haven't met them all yet. We haven't actually met any of the main ones that are popping up. So we'll get into it. Episode 6 is called The Key, and we start this episode with one of the new characters, what we believe is a thief stealing a box from a pagoda.
Him I did not like.
Yeah, there's a good reason why we didn't like him, though. He could have been substituted for our favourite character, and it wouldn't have made any difference. But he ends up getting intercepted by some kind of pantomime Oriental-looking villain and his goons, who identify the thief as Jake. So the guy's name is Jake McDonald, and the item that Jake's stolen is identified as the key to Kunlun. Now, when I heard this, the key to Kunlun, I thought Kunlun was a fictional place in Marvel, like Iron Fist. I didn't know it was a real place. I was this many years old when I found out Kunlun was a real place, because I went and looked it up on Google Maps after I heard this. Did you know this was a real place?
No.
Do you know Kunlun from Iron Fist, right? You've read Iron Fist, haven't you? From Iron Fist, Marvel.
It's been a while since I've seen Iron Fist.
Not seen, read.
Oh, read. Oh, I did not read Iron Fist.
Forget about watching Iron Fist. That was trash.
Mm-hmm.
No, in Iron Fist, there's the mystical realm of Kunlun, right? It's not in the real world. It's supposed to be like hidden, but it's a real place. Like this is the place where they've got to go to open up a portal to go to the Holy Land. And I thought, Christ, it's a real place. I looked it up. You learn something new every day. So these goons, they kick Jake's ass, and the head goon says that anybody who stands with his Sanjian and Kara will face death. So, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, we learn that he's in cahoots with Kaiyan Wang's followers, this pantomime villain.
No way.
Yeah, can't believe it. And then we cut back to Yakumo and Pai, and they're now travelling through China towards Tibet. And Yakumo, he's discovered the whereabouts of the monk that he was travelling with previously, or one of them. And then when they get there, they find out that the temple's been ransacked with no sign of the monk. So I don't know whether I'm assuming he's after the old monk. I don't think the young monk's any use. But then Jake shows up, and he's in a bad way, and he's still carrying the key, thankfully. But he collapses in front of Yakumo and Pai. But he's soon joined by the pantomime villain and his goons. So Pai and Yakumo take the key, I don't think they know what it is they're taking at this point. I don't remember if it's mentioned what it is, but they take it anyway, and they just leave Jake for dead and make a run for it. And they dispatch some of the goons on the way, but they end up getting pinned in by the head villain and his goons, and then on one side, and then a big ginger demon pixie monster on the other. And the pantomime villain introduces himself as Chow Kai, his name, and he reveals that he knows all about Yakumo. He explains that he's been tasked to destroy all keys to Kunlun and will kill anyone that stands in his way. So his job at this point is to destroy that urn that Yakumo was carrying, or the one that Jake tried to steal. So this is this point where Yakumo realizes he's holding a key to Kaiyan Wang's resting place, which is what they really need to get a hold of. And Chow Kai then sets the big ginger pixie demon monster on the pair, and we learn that her name is Ran Pao Pao. So Ran Pao Pao ends up going all Mortal Kombat Goro, and she grows a couple of extra arms. And then a battle is about to go down until Jake arrives, and he causes an explosion, and he shoots like the gas tank of a motorbike. And it gives Pai and Yakumo time to escape in a boat with a young monk. They like kind of roll down a hill, and the young monk's in the river at the bottom, ready to pick him up. And we find out his name is Naparva. And the old master monk, we find out his name is Master Tenzin. So the group quickly escape. They take the injured Jake with them, and they end up heading off to a mountain hideout. And when they get there, Master Tenzin meets with Pai, and he tells her that her memories have been blocked, and which is what the diamonds on her head are for. And in order to cast a spell of release on the diamonds on her head, they need to have the person that cast the seal to unseal it. So we can only assume Benares at this point. I think we both probably guessed that, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So Tenzin then tells them that they have to go to Kunlun if they want to recover Pai's memories, and Jake tells them that he wants to go too, since he's a treasure hunter and he's searching for the Holy Land of Kunlun. And he knows that Kunlun is the homeland of the Sanjian Ankara, so he thinks there's going to be some treasure there to get a hold of. So the five of them set off for Kunlun, and we end up getting a recap of Kaiyan Wang killing all the Sanjian Ankara that opposed them 300 years prior. So we get like a better, more fleshed out flashback sequence than the one we had from the previous episodes. The one from previous was a bit dark and difficult to see what was going on. This is a lot more clear. We can see him in his full get up, killing people.
The good stuff.
The good stuff, yeah. And then we cut back to what looks like Jake. He's violating a mountain goat at one point. Do you remember that?
It does look like it. It was the movements were so funny, and it was on repeat. Like he's doing the same movements, and
the
I'm
same
like,
animation frames over and over again. And then once Jake's finished with his goat, they set back off. And then Jake comments on how he wants to enter Kunlun to discover the secret of eternal youth and become a millionaire. And it's at this point Yakumo remarks how Jake reminds him of Ling Ling. And it was at this point I thought, yeah, get rid of him, bring Ling Ling back. This could have so easily have been Ling Ling doing this.
Seriously.
Yeah. And then Jake reveals that the key to opening Kunlun is pouring human blood on the urn to open the gates. And Master Tenzin confirms this, so he must have heard about this before, or how to do this. The old guy confirms it. But at this point, Jake almost runs over a little girl. And they end up just taking her along with him, despite Jake's objections. He thinks she's a scammer, and he wants to ditch her. But they eventually arrive at the temple where they patch the little girl up. Again, Jake wants to get rid of her because he thinks she's gonna. I think he thinks she's gonna rob them, but turns out to be worse than that. Pai leads the little girl away from Jake, and they stumble across Master Tenzin, and he's showing Yakumo the gate to Kunlun at this point and how to open it. Yakumo tells Tenzin he wants to travel through alone since he's worried that Pai's true power might awaken, and he's worried that she's not ready. And he remembers back to 4 years ago in Hong Kong where he failed to protect the woman he loves, and right before she disappeared, so he wants to go and do it all on his own, like an idiot. But Yakumo then discovers that Pai has heard all this in the background, and both of them turn bright red at the thought that she's heard this. But all of a sudden, from darkness, we get a whistle sheet. There's a whistle goes off, and then the little girl transforms into Ran Pal Pal, who ends up attacking the group. So the little girl was just really the big ginger pixie demon monster in disguise. During the fight, Master Tenzin ends up getting hit by a scroll bomb. And we discover this has all been the handiwork of Chao Kai. He's in the background doing all this. Ran Pal Pal dispatches a few of the temple monks before Jake and the Parva arrive on the scene for the save, but both of them end up getting knocked out, and Yakumo's beaten up a bit more.
Yay!
Yeah, again, Chao Kai and Ran Pal Pal take off and to try and destroy the shrine permanently to seal the gates to Kunlun, so they disappear off down into the cave. And Master Tenzin's lying there dying, and he says to Pai, with his dying breath, he says she's got to go through the gate and discover who she is. So she starts to have a bit of a freak out until Sanjian appears to awaken and summons a sperm demon. But it's it looks like an evil Sanjian this time. It doesn't look like the Sanjian from before. And she claims she doesn't know who Yakumo is, and she takes off into the cavern as well, laughing maniacally with one of the fakest laughs I've ever heard in anime or otherwise. So the gang all follow her down into the depths of the cavern while Pai catches up with Chao Kai and Ran Pal Pal, and she attacks them, demanding to know who they are and who she is. And Chao Kai attacks back with some dark magic, which traps Pai. And then Yakumo, seeing this, he tries to come to Pai's aid as the episode closes. So that's episode 6. And this one just opens straight up again with episode 7. What did you think episode 6, Bianca? Enjoy?
Master Tenzin.
Yeah, poor Tenzin.
I did enjoy Ran Pal Pal, though.
Yeah.
Highlight.
Yeah. I would say that Ran Pal Pal was a highlight. Tenzin, I couldn't care less that he died, to be honest. Naparva was useless. I think he disappears in the next episode anyway. He doesn't even go with him. I don't like the pantomime villain.
The gangster guy.
Yeah, Chao Kai. I don't like him. I think he's too on the nose. I know this is the 90s, right?
He sucks.
But he's almost borderline racist, I think. But,
wow.
But that was episode 6. So we get episode 7 is the return. This is the final episode. We open, and this one was 50 minutes. This is a long one. So strap yourselves in, folks. So we open, the cavern is collapsing. With Yakumo trying to find Pai. But she's like hanging off of a ledge above a pool of lava. Along with a, once again, child version of Ran Pal Pal. A naked child version of Ran Pal Pal, I may add. And Pai tries to reach out to grab her, to lift her up, but she ends up getting a bite in the arm for her troubles. And then Chao Kai, realising that Pai is now... only just realises now that she's a Sanjian Ankara. He reminds her of what happened 4 years ago before Pai's sperm monster knocks Chao Kai off the ledge. And he sort of almost hits the lava, but he casts some kind of spell just as he's about to hit the lava, and it stops him from hitting it. And he gets a little bit of splashes on his jacket, but he gets away with it.
Punks.
Yeah, so she rescues. So the sperm monster rescues Pai and Ran Pal Pal from the ledge, and then we get a quick glimpse of a returning Benares kneeling before the shrine to Kaiyan Wang. So he's back again for the first time since we saw him at the beginning of episode 5. We hadn't seen any of them up until now, and we can only assume this is in the Holy Land where we're seeing this. So we cut back to Yakumo, and he's explaining to Jake that his soul rests with Pai, and he can't be killed as long as she lives. And Jake decides that he wants to find a demon chick to fall in love with as well, so he can also become immortal. So we get the sort of the treasure hunter Jake coming through, but it should have been Ling Ling.
Yes.
So Jake, he once again turns his attention to Ran Pal Pal and wants to kill her, since they know that she's a demon. But Pai stops him and convinces him to spare her. Now, to be honest, I was kind of with Jake at this point. I would have probably put a bullet in this thing at this point. Would you have? She's clearly dangerous. I would have just shot her at this point. I'd have let him do it.
Yeah.
Even though I like we say, Grandpa Pal's a pretty cool character, but I would have shot her. She's too dangerous to keep alive. But Pi convinces him to keep her alive, so she lives to fight another day. And then we get Jake. So they put the urn down on the it looks like sort of like carvings in the stone on the ground. So they put the urn down in the middle of the carvings, and Jake decides to slice his arm open so he can pour his own blood onto the urn to open the gates to the Holy Land. And the Parva says he has to stay behind to protect the temple, while Pi, Giacomo, Jake, and Ranpalpal are transported through the portal to the Holy Land. So Naparva is actually useless. He hasn't really done anything apart from he was the one that was paddling the boat. I think that's all he did. The boat that rescued them, and all he's done is moan, complain from that point on. I think I don't think he's done anything.
Degrade her. Oh my gosh, saying, "Oh my gosh, you're just a little girl. You're just a little kid." I'm like, bro.
No, that's Jake that's doing that.
I know.
Jake's an asshole, but Naparva's useless.
Yes.
You know the other monk, the young monk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the monks die, and he's just there. And I'm like, no, he's just there.
But he was saying he has to stay behind to protect the temple. What's he gonna do? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
But they all head off to the Holy Land, minus Naparva. So there's only 4 of them now, and they all arrive in the ruined Holy Land. And after Pi unearths a Sanjian and Kara grave, they realise that the entire landscape is just one big graveyard for dead Sanjian and Kara. There's lots of these sort of plinths coming out of the ground, and they're all graves for the dead. So Pi hears a ringing sound off in the distance, and she goes off to follow it, only to find that a magic circle. And in the magic circle, she's confronted by a vision of herself from the past, from when she was a child. And the vision,
yeah, magic circles.
Yeah, they like the magic circles. It's a very magic circle-y show, I think. But she's the vision is telling her that, well, tells her and the group to leave, and she warns them of Shiva, the man that she was supposed to marry. And as the vision continues the story, the group realise that Shiva and Kaiyan Wang are one and the same. So this is his, I'm assuming his real name. Kaiyan Wang's probably just the name everybody gave him.
Yeah.
The vision of the past Pi that disappears, and the group come to realise that Kaiyan Wang is the Hindu god Shiva, the god of destruction, who is said to destroy the universe and set it back into chaos. So what he wants is total destruction. That's his end game. So Pi worries that she might regret getting her memory back, and Jake ends up going ransacking looking for treasure. So Giacomo is with Jake at this point, and he tells Jake that Pi might be giving up on regaining her memory, but then Jake starts to have a sort of a heart-to-heart with him, and he tells him, keep fighting for her, keep fighting for the woman you love.
And while also blushing around her, and I'm like, bro, you're an adult. Get your mind out of the gutter, bro.
Yeah, he was a bit, but how old is she supposed to be though? Like, she's supposed to be in high school, right?
They said they're in junior high.
Yeah, this is all a bit.
So that means she's like a freshman or sophomore.
But yeah, he was looking a bit like he had the hots for her as well at one point, didn't he?
It was weird because he kept saying how she was a little kid, and then she holds his arm one time, and he's like, "Oh, okay."
No, but this was after, if you remember, this is as soon as he found out that she was able to grant immortality. Then he had the hots for her. So he's a very.
It was when she was begging him to have Ranpao stay.
You sure? I have to go looking at that again. I thought it was when he found out that she was Sanjian and she could grant immortality. I thought he's a very superficial.
Yeah, it's when she started touching him and being all cutesy. He started blushing.
All right, okay. So a bit problematic there then.
And then every time she spoke to him, he started blushing, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah, let's not draw attention to it then. So Benares shows back up, and he confronts Pi and congratulates Hawasho on keeping Sanjian's memories sealed up. So this is a new name that we've heard now, Hawasho, and this is where I started to get confused the first time round. I don't know about you, Bianca, but this whole triangle confused me. But think I've got it now. I think I understand it. So he remarks on how he's surprised that Hawasho has also lost his memory.
Mhm.
And then he puts Pai into a trance. And so we find out a bit later on who or what Hawasho is. But meanwhile, Yakumo and Jake are getting jumped by Chao Kai. And Jake gets taken out while Yakumo and Chao Kai engage in a pretty impressively choreographed fight sequence. This is the point where I think they've rotoscoped this fight. Do you know what I mean? They've had actors stand in and they've traced over the top, I think. And that would explain why there is some connections that don't hit. That don't make some connections when they're fighting. It felt to me like Street Fighter 2 animated movie. I think they do you know what I mean? This whole sequence felt like that. Did you not feel that?
Well, I didn't see Street Fighter 2 the movie.
The way I think they filmed the fight sequences in Street Fighter 2 was they did it all in ones, so they didn't shoot two shots of the same frame. They shot one shot of one frame at a time, so it went really smooth, a la Akira or Disney movies. And I think they had actors. I think they did this for Street Fighter 2 as well, where they had actors standing and traced over the top, frame by frame. Do you know what I mean?
I think
it just made the fight look a lot smoother. I was more impressed by this fight than I was by the doll one.
What about Chinese martial art movies, for an example? They usually do one long wide shot, so you're seeing it, and they don't do that much cutaways. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean the way they've built this scene. I can't remember whether it wasn't one continuous shot. There was lots of cuts, but what I mean is, I think they've filmed live action actors, doing choreography for this fight scene, and then they've taken.
Oh, you think there was like rotoscope?
Aye, they've rotoscoped over the top of it. That's what I think they've done, because I think that's what they did with Street Fighter 2 as well for the fight sequences, so that it looked really smooth. You have seen Street Fighter 2, right?
No.
You haven't seen Street Fighter 2, right? Anime Hour coming up, Street Fighter 2. But this is what I think they've done. That's why I was impressed by this fight sequence. Maybe they didn't do that with the previous one in episode 5, but that one also felt quite smooth. So I was impressed by it. I know you're not impressed by it, but I think it looked a lot. It looked a lot more accomplished of a fight sequence than I usually see in anime, if you know what I mean by that. We're never going to agree on this, are we?
No, I don't know.
I know you. Anyway, so yeah, we'll get to Street Fighter. Don't worry, we'll come to that at some point. So, Yakumo tries to take Chao Kai out with a summon, but Chao Kai hulks out and he turns into some sort of vortex belly monster that starts sucking everything into himself. And the pair make a run for it, but Jake is snared and he's been dragged towards the belly, so he's on his way to be swallowed. After Yakumo once again gets scrolled in the head, so that the scroll in the head knocks his, incapacitates him. I think it paralyzes him or something like that. It's happened to him a few times now. He's been killed a few times and he's been scrolled a few times at this point. And we then cut to the shrine of Cayenne Wang, where Benares has Pai prepped for some kind of ritual, and he force pushes Ranpao Pao off the top of the steps, and I thought, she's dead at that point. She looks like she splats at the bottom of the stairs. So I thought she was dead, but she comes back. But so he's raised Pai into the air. Well, he tells Hawasho again that he will make his memory return. And we then get a flashback to Aberdeen Harbour 4 years ago, just prior to the Pai and Benares psychic battle. And Benares is revealed to have called forth the demon snake, Hawasho, to possess Pai and seal off her memories. So Hawasho is then shown to be turned into this diamond seal that goes onto Pai's forehead. Now, if you remember, Bianca, you theorised that we'd get a flashback into what happened during this psychic battle at the end of episode 4. Remember that? Well, you called it right, because we see Pai seemingly killing Benares during this and Hawasho possessing Pai and sealing up her memory. So well done, pal. You win a cookie.
Yay!
I don't know whether you watched ahead, but you called it spot on, because this is what happened. Because that was my major gripe with the end of episode 4, is that we didn't get to see what happened in that battle, but now we know. So,
knowledge.
Yeah. So we then find out after the battle that she's sort of been wandering around the streets since she got picked up by that old couple who claimed to be her grandparents. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure whether the grandparents just made that story up or they were possessed from the very beginning. That isn't made clear. At least I don't think it was made clear. Did you get any inkling that they were possessed or they were just making this up?
Making it up, yes. Though I thought they were puppets to the end. So I was like so confused.
Were they puppets though? Or were they real people?
Like, I thought they were created, but they look human. If that makes sense. They look more human than puppets. Because they got really hurt. So, like, I mean, but the ending kind of, like, reversed everything anyway, so...
Yeah, well, they end up back to normal at the end, so... I don't know. I think they were real people, but... I'm more leaning towards that they were also brainwashed to think that she was their grandkid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But I don't know who by, because at that point Benares was blown to bits and Hawasho was inside her head, so nobody was... Who knows?
Well, she did explain it. Like, it had the way she was explaining it, I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. But then I'm seeing it, I'm like, okay, so they put her in this girl's body. So, but she had a different face. But the thing is, her friends and her family see the original person's face, while we, the audience, and Yakumo see Pie's face. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I think I've kind of worked it out. I'll get to the end though, and then I'll tell you what I think happened.
Okay.
Because I was left hella confused at the end as well with that part. But
I had to restart it so many times on that ending.
I've only watched it twice at this point, and the second time round I think I got it. So we get Benares explaining that Hawasho only suppressed Sanjian, but because there was also Pi in there inside in the personality inside her mind, Hawasho merged with Pi and he lost his memory in the process. So he sort of merged with Pi's mind and suppressed Sanjian.
Mm.
And then he tells Pi or Hawasho at this point that he can either remain merged with Pi and return to a normal life, so go back to the grandparents and back to school, or he can choose to release Pi and Sanjian, but in doing so it will turn him back to the form of a demon snake. So if she tries to destroy Kai Wang's shrine, the demon snake will be released and he'll be back to being a snake again when he actually should want to go back to being a human. But Chao Kai turns up with Yakumo incapacitated still, and Jake, he's half swallowed up in the vortex belly. And Pai then threatens to destroy the Kai Wang shrine if he doesn't release them. And so she offers Benares a deal, and she says that she'll leave. She'll leave as she is, go back home, back to her own life again if her friends are released. But Yakumo is not having any of this, and he reminds Pai that poor Master Tenzin, died to get her to this point, which knocks a bit of sense into her. And she tries to destroy the shrine, but ends up finding it's protected by some sort of magic. And then Ran Pao Pao wakes up from death by the look of it. And she jumps Chao Kai, causing him to release Yakumo from the scroll that's on his head, and release Jake as well from the belly. And then it gives Yakumo enough time to turn around and explode Chao Kai's head in a lovely gory scene. Eyeballs, brains and all. It was great. So Yakumo and Benares then have a bit of a Pokemon battle on the stairs, if you can remember this. It was quite cool. Pikachu, I choose you. He was calling out they were calling out their Pokemons for a battle. Remember that?
Repeat?
You remember they were having a Pokemon battle on the stairs? Yakumo and Benares.
Oh.
Do you remember it?
Yes.
He's going, Pikachu.
I was like, Pokemon battle?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. It looked like they were calling forth Pokemon to
Yakumo's
fight each other.
demons suck.
Yeah, they're always getting killed. Yeah, ultimately, like Benares' demon proved too strong for Yakumo, so.
But Ranpao just punched it, and it was already dead. I'm like, yo,
Yeah, they
you
weak
spent
ass.
4 years training, and you couldn't get some stronger demons?
I think he needs to train for another 4 years so he can get stronger demons. He needs to catch better Pokemon. So after he gets his demon destroyed by Benares, he gives Pai a hug and he tells her that he loves her, and he ends up getting quite seriously fucked up at this point. Even for an immortal, this looks quite brutal. He gets Yakumo's face gets planted on the stairs at one point. He gets flipped over and he face plants the stairs. I have seen like a wrestler do this before, and it looks really, really fucking painful.
It's
and he ends
stairs.
and he ends up also getting curb stomped on the stairs as well, face first, by Benares. So he's immortal or not, you don't want any of that happening. But Jake and Ranpao try to attack Benares as well, but they both get their asses kicked. I thought they were both dead again at this point. Looked like it.
Yeah, don't you love it?
But they're not. So the Pai Hawasho combination says goodbye to Yakumo and decides to attack Benares using the Nail of Shiva, destroying Kaiyan Wang's shrine and releasing Sanjian's memories, causing Hawasho, he pops off of her head and returns to snake form and leaves Pai's body. He returns to demon snake form. I think that's what he called him. And then, so that's it. Benares is gone. Kaiyan Wang's shrine's gone. No return for Kaiyan Wang. Later on, we cut to Jake showing up at the monk, the Parva's mountain retreat, carrying some jewels that he's purged from the ruins. So this is probably like not long after the end of this battle. And we also learn from a now awakened Sanjian. She's talking to Yakumo, and she's telling him that Pai is still asleep due to the memory sealing curse that was put on her when Hawasho merged with her, and that Sanjian says that she plans to rest in the Holy Land until Pai wakes up. So she explains that Pai, or Pablo as she was known, was actually Hawasho the whole time. And once again, Hawasho has now changed form. And just before Sanjian disappears, she tells Yakumo to go wait for her in Tokyo while she rests in the Holy Land. So then we get Pablo now waking up in hospital, and she looks a bit different at this point. This is not the same. It's not Pai anymore. So she's waking up in hospital with her grandparents and her friends around her. She has like hazy memories of Yakumo. She sees some flowers that he's left and sees his name. So she knows his name, or she's at least aware of it, but she can't remember who he is. And then we see Sanjian flying past the window outside, revealing that the Pai / Pablo in the hospital is actually the new form of Hawasho. And she says goodbye to her and flies off. And the series ends in Tokyo with Pablo, the Hawasho Pablo, and her friends walking along the street and mentioning, like, laughing and giggling again about having boyfriends, and then Yakumo turning to smile at them as they walk by. So we've not met, but he's seen the Hawasho version of Pai on the street, and that's it, and that's the series, and that's all they've ever made. So what did you think, Bianca? Let me hear your thoughts, and then I'll tell you what I thought overall.
Besides it feeling extremely rushed, despite the time differences, and then some things needing to be cut, and some things I feel like it should have lasted longer, it was pretty alright.
Yeah. I did. On first watch, I don't think I liked 5, 6, and 7. I think that there was too many things that bothered me about it, like plot threads not being tied up from previous characters that I would really like not returning. Just annoying, like that Jake guy, that pantomime villain, stuff like that really bothered me. But and then again, like the first time I watched it, I was really, really confused by this ending. This ending really, at the end, I was feeling like, and I don't know if you felt like this after first watch, I was going, so how come there's two Pais? Like, I didn't have any idea why there was two different people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. My explanation didn't help.
No, but I mean, you've
Are
now
you talking
confused me.
about the Are you talking about the bipolar? Not bipolar. The oh my gosh, what's it called? The two personalities,
Multiple personalities.
the multiple personalities thing.
No, not really, because the multiple personalities thing is explained because it's inside one mind, which I can get my head around that. I just couldn't get my head around how, like, who was he talking to the whole time from the beginning of episode 5 to the end of episode 7? It was Hawasho, right? It wasn't Pi at all. Pi was asleep, out of the picture at this point. He'd merged with her
No,
memories.
it was Pi.
It was Pi, so Pi was awake.
Yeah.
But the explanation from Sanjian at the end was that Pi was asleep since her memory was sealed.
Yeah, she was asleep because her memory was sealed. That's the sleeping part.
But that
Not
happened,
that she was actually asleep.
But that happened in Aberdeen Harbour 4 years previous, during the fight with Benares. So she's been asleep the whole time.
Asleep as in dormant, her memories.
Dormant in her mind, yeah.
Yeah, until she got her memories back, then that's when she was awake.
Which was
and then,
right
of
at
course,
the end.
because Pi is not the original personality, it's Sanjian that comes out.
Yeah, but the explanation I thought they gave was that Hawasho merging with Pi, Hawasho took her memories and just became her. The demon snake was the mind of Pi at that point. No, okay. See, now you've confused me.
He explained she was like in where I watched. He was like, "Well, where's Pi?" And she's like, "Did you really think Pi was the original personality? No, it's me."
Right. Okay. That's not how I interpreted it, I'm afraid. Maybe
I didn't interpret nothing. She just said it, and I'm like, "Oh, you're the original? I thought you were the side chick. I don't know."
No, like she is the dominant consciousness, right? Because she's Sanjian, so she's the actual the actual mind of the girl, right?
Mm.
But Pi is like the sort of childish, friendlier, innocent version
that
of her.
She kind of made on purpose.
Yeah, when her third eye is closed, that's Pi, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way I understood it was that Pi was asleep from the end of the fight in episode 4 at Aberdeen Harbour when her memory is sealed and Hawasho takes over her memories. And then the explanation that Benares gave was that Hawasho had merged with Pi's memories and Hawasho became Pi. I honestly, if you rewatch it,
the other way around.
Bianca, if you rewatch it, I think that's what's happened. I honestly think that's it. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I think that's what happened. Have a rewatch. Have a rewatch of it, and then tell me if do it, and then tell me if your interpretation changes, because I think that's what happens.
I watched it multiple times already.
What, episode 7? You've watched that multiple times?
Her explanation. I watched her explanation multiple times.
You're only talking about
fast. I watched it slow. I watched it normal speed. And then I said, okay, this is what she meant.
You're only talking about her explanation right at the end when she's about to fly off, right?
When she's destroying the demon.
Right. I believe Benares more than I believe Sanjian. Because his explanation made sense to me. And then when Hawasho was released from her, I don't know how his form changed from a snake into a human girl, but that's how I sort of reconciled in my mind how there's two different people now. How there's Sanjian and how there's also Pabo in the hospital. Because she looks different. Like, she's got like a fringe that covers her eyes and stuff. She doesn't look so different that people wouldn't think it was a different person. I think I'm gonna have to rewatch it again. I don't really want to. It's too long.
the chat will let us know.
Yeah. The chat will be berating us for our terrible anime knowledge. So Yeah, that's the series. So that's seven episodes in total were made. I don't think they're going to make any more. I enjoyed it. Like I always enjoyed episodes 1 to 4. I'm glad I've now watched 5 to 7. I just wish they were a bit different. I wish there was some stuff different. I wish they'd made a couple more and maybe tied up the loose plot threads from previous episodes. But all in all, I enjoyed it. I'm glad you sort of overall enjoyed it too, Bianca. I'm glad because this is my first suggestion, and I honestly don't think you're going to enjoy many more of my suggestions, but we'll see. So, speaking of suggestions, Bianca, there has been an accusation levelled at me that I hog the limelight in this show. Can you believe that? That nonsense?
No.
No, you can't believe that, can you?
No.
Certain individuals have claimed that I don't let you speak enough, and I'm not going to name any names again, Janong. But so next time we get together, I was going to say next week, but it won't be next week. It's going to be about 4 weeks from now. Next time we get together, we're going to be watching something that you've suggested. So, Bianca, what are we going to be watching when we next meet?
Keep Your Hands Off Izukin is what we will be watching next.
And what is Keep Your Hands Off Izukin all about? Just so the guys have all got a chance to read
It's
up.
about 3 different girls wanting to get into the animation business and letting their imaginations go wild. That's it.
So it's an anime about anime.
Yes.
Awesome. I can't wait for that. So next time we get together, Bianca, you're gonna be in control. The show is yours. This will be Bianca's show, and she'll be taking us all through Get Your Hands Off Izukin. So everybody, get out there, get it watched legally. Get a subscription to Crunchyroll because it's on Crunchyroll. I know that because I'm going to watch it on Crunchyroll. And we'll get together again and we'll watch that. We'll do it. It's 12 episodes, right? We'll do 6 at a time. So we'll do 2 shows of 6 episodes, and we'll have a great time. I'm sure we will. And I may even have some comments from my partner in crime, my other partner in crime, other than you, Bianca, because I'm going to be watching this with my daughter. So I may have a few comments from her on it to see what she thinks of it.
Woot. It'll
Sounds
be my
good.
first time too.
I actually thought you'd watched it before when you suggested it.
No.
Then you told me you hadn't watched it yet, so we'll see. We'll see what it. Hopefully, it's not crap. But I'm sure it'll be good. So yeah, that's us. Another one in the can. Thank God we got to the end of this one because this one's been a long time coming. Again, apologies for the 4-week delay, folks, but we got there. And check that out. We're almost at an hour. The anime hour. So yeah, we're gonna get out of here because we've got things to do, people to see. So you know how we do it around here. Love, peace, but no, I can't use that one.
You still haven't thought of one.
Wait. Remember, when the shit hits the fan. No, I can't use that one either. Do you know what? Good night, Bianca.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.